Join discord.gg/flatearth and enter a check-in room. Someone will come along and verify you to get involved in the conversation about our Earth.
Lalo. Lalo? Lalo thinks. Lalo thinks.
Yes. What's going on? Hello?
A lot is going on. What is Lalo thinking? What are you thinking, Lalo?
Well, what's going on here? So, before that, I was thinking, okay, 5 in the morning in the gym, going to that, and then I had to go tint the windows, and I had to get the gold title of the car, get the insurance on it, and then I meant to make a vacation for 4th of July. Yeah, so I try to get it out thinking.
Are you like in the middle of that work? Did you accomplish all of those already, or are you just on the writing steps, like you're writing it down on a notepad or making a mental note about those things? Where are you on this master plan that you have of the day or the week? Where are you at?
Well, I'm trying to find someone to tint my windows. So far, I got 2 rejections. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know if they want my money, but I do want to tint the front of the window. But supposedly it's illegal to tint the front of the window. But it's not really tint the window. I just put like some clear anti-glare for the front of the window. No shades.
Okay, so you want something for in front of the window, and for their side. Okay, for you sounds practical, right? And you say there, I don't see any issues. But on their side, for their liability side, if they do the job, it's a liability for them. You know that, right? Because they have to go by certain rules, and it's not Lalo's thinking rules. It's not like that, right? They go by. Obviously, if you do it yourself, you probably won't have any issues. You install what you say, you do it yourself. You probably can do it. It's not that difficult to do that stuff. To put
there's no. I'm thinking no shade, like no shades at all, because I do know it's illegal to put any shade for front of the window or the sheet. Yeah.
I will say that you can do it, and you probably will have no issues. You'll be totally fine. But on their side, their rules that they're following, they can't do it for you, bro. That's how it is. Unless you pay someone on the side that does it for you, and that's it.
Yeah, so I'm looking for someone to decide. I did try to tint it one time, but it came out like pretty not good. So
okay.
Well, I still want to tint all my 4 windows. But
you still haven't registered the vehicle, and you're already thinking about breaking the rules. Funny.
Isn't kind of like a little fun to break the rules?
It is. Even though when you actually find out that you don't have to register the vehicle, I mean, this is not legal advice, but you're basically making a contract with an entity. You're making a contract with an entity, and since you're making that contract, now you have to fulfill it. If you don't fulfill it, you're breaking a contract, bro. And that's, in commerce, you can't do that. You're gonna be fined. He's driving around the car that is not registered yet.
No.
Just kidding. You're cutting out, bro. I'm just joking. You're cutting out. You're roboting. So whenever you have better signal, you can reply, because you're roboting badly. It's all good.
So I just found out that Earth is.
You're still roboting, bro. And it sounds like you're moving across whatever area you are at. So whenever you get a trilateration connection to your tower, you probably get a better signal and be able to speak.
There was a quote that I liked that is, am I still roboting now?
Sounds good now to me.
I like this quote saying that the Earth is spinning, and the quote goes, "There are forces on the Earth and makes us move, spins around. Sometimes we don't know what's going on, but it makes these moves." Let me get the right quote.
Is it similar to money makes the world go around? Similar to that one?
Yes.
Does it, when you read it and you say the words and you read it word by word, does it make you feel a certain way? You feel like warm inside and fizzy and makes you, this feels good.
Not really.
Ah, there you go. So you don't feel anything. You're just reading words, right? And do you know what the meaning of those words and how those words in reference to the real East level? Do they mean anything in the real world, or they're talking about a fantasy place that you can just describe in imagination?
Okay. Because there are forces moving us, shaping our lives that we are not aware of. Some of us trying to figure it out how it works. Some of us try to use our voices to ask questions. But it's the Earth. Maybe the Earth, not the actual Earth spinning, but just the forces around, like you said, the government entities and people that are around us that do shape our Earth. Like you said about these whole contracts and the whole e-commerce, like it does shape our world.
Yeah, just like they told you that you live on a cartoon or you live on this sphere. You remember the globe that they point at the classroom? Oh, you look at that corner. We have a globe on that corner, and you can go touch it, and you feel kind of cool. Oh, look, I can spin it with my hand, right? And the teacher
Right.
comes to you and say, "You see, this is where you live, right?" And you say, "Yeah," right? And you believe that stuff. So just like that, and you believe certain things that are not true. There's other stuff like economics, health, many other topics. Here we strictly kind of talk to what you were talking about, the claim shape of the Earth. That some people claim they know it.
Well, it still
Right.
shapes the reality that they want to bring to us of a false reality of the cartoon ball.
Yeah, because they make shapes and they sell us the shape like this shape is what you're standing on, even though they never been to from a outside perspective to look at the shape of the whole thing and say, yeah, I can confirm that this is the shape. They haven't done that, but they're still making the claim.
Well, it's still kind of the same thing. You have to play along to get along.
Yeah, you have to play the sport. Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of like the game is there. Just if someone knows more rules than you in the game and you don't know the rules, you're gonna be played. Especially if they can bend the rules, right? Bending. But then you go back to the real East level and you see how things work certain ways, and you don't need this guy telling you stories to realize that things just work certain ways. You don't need the stories.
Okay. Yes. All right. So I always had this thought process of what's, because we always ask, or people say, why the lie, right?
Why not lie? It's an advantage.
Well, as we always try to paint it as a dark and gloomy, right? Like, why they lie for power control. And sometimes there are some benefit of lying, or is it always have to be absolute truth?
When you go out there and you contract with the guy that's gonna put the tint in your car, he doesn't have to tell you all the truth about how much the tint costs him, how much the spray water. He doesn't have to tell you all that. He can lie to you about that, but he can still make the tint perfectly placed in your in your windshield in a way that you're gonna say, you know what? Whatever price he asked is worth it because he got the job done. But he still didn't tell you the truth about the prices and his cost, but you still paid, right? So it's not about just lie for lying, but because there is lies that are just lies, like the globe lie. right? That have no practicality. Why would you tell that lie and try to push it as reality and as a foundation of other things that you do and other and the energy that some people put towards their jobs, like, oh, let's go to space, or the resources, the time. Why
Well, that
why push that lie and push so much effort into that lie when you can still do commerce and do practical things without lying, or you don't have to be 100% transparent, but you're still not lying and promising things that you're not gonna accomplish. Like, there's a difference between the guy putting the tint on your window and you can check it, and the guy that is just showing you pictures of the tinted window shield, right? And show you pictures of it, but never prove to you that he did it. Never, you cannot verify that he actually did it just because some cartoons pictures, right? Oh, my bad. Go ahead, bro.
They're
Well,
lying.
go ahead.
They're lying to. They're lying to protect you. That's obvious.
They told you that in the movies. We lie to protect you. Oh,
You know,
okay.
because
Thank you.
Jamesy, the truth is very scary, you know, and who knows what it is. And then because of that, it's better that we don't know. And they're protecting you, you know. If you find out, maybe you will die immediately.
Well, that goes back to maybe they don't even know what it is. They just rather go with this explanation, and maybe that's what it is, and it's a good lie, and maybe correlates with a lot of stuff, and people are very comfortable with it, right? Like they say, a comfortable lie.
Yep.
But sometimes we do, become very hostile with telling them that's the lie. And then, of course, you try to bring them, like, please bring me the evidence of why do you think it's a ball. Even though it's obvious that NASA's lying. But, as if I want to bring proof of the globe, all I have to tell you is, look, the government is telling me this, all this. The government saw this. There's a bunch of math equations of this. The bunch of NASA photos and a bunch of satellite photos. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, that's all someone needs to know about the lie to believe it, right? And you don't need to to operate in reality. You don't even have to know about the globe, right? You don't need to know anything of it, but you still can see the propaganda going around you. You don't have to believe any of that. I mean, you can still operate in reality and ignore the lie to certain limitations, but you're still gonna pay taxes to go to space, right? Work and put your energy into the system so someone can go to space for you, right? So it has real life consequences because it promotes dishonesty, promotes fraud and scarcity, right? And those are, for me, those are crimes.
Of course, yes, they operate in fraud, yes, as our money. But we still play along. We still work for the money. We still use the money.
Yeah, but that we, I don't know, man. There's a we in certain sense, but there's no a we on everything. We do have the conversation, but anyways, go ahead, guys.
I'm just saying, because we operate, of course, of the assumption that of money as well. But sometimes there are a lot of people are working with the assumption that we are working in the globe, spinning in space, throughout space, and somehow we are ability to the UFOs are coming, or then all the SpaceX, right, all the stuff, and people are very comfortable with it. It's hard to say that
Have you heard the fake alien invasion? Just look into TikTok and YouTube, you'll find the fake alien invasion, right? But I think the realist level of that, let's say Let's say the angels and God Himself comes down from heaven, and some people are gonna see, look, aliens, look, let's go fight them. Because the fake alien invasion, in my opinion, is the one that you see on the screen, just like the fake globe, the fake global stuff, the fake economics, the fake history. Same thing with the fake alien invasion. It's in the internet right now. You can go find it.
So like you said, so the foundation of the lie was the globe to create all this, to keep us in prison, like they always say.
At least from the 50s.
From the 50s.
At least.
What the foundation of which lie are you referring to?
Of the globe.
Well, the foundation of the lie of the globe.
Well, because they still, like I said, if the first lie was the globe, what else was the lie? We're talking about,
They've been lying way
No,
before the
disbelief
globe
in-
lie.
The first lie wasn't the globe. The first lie would have had to been about creation.
Yeah, the first lie was about defying Yahweh. The globe came after.
It was a tool. It was a tool to lie about that. They didn't really care what the earth is. They still don't care what the earth is. They care what you think it is. And what you can make you believe something that you know is not true. It's against all your lived experiences, against every possible human sense. If they can get you to believe in absurdity, they'll get you to commit an atrocity. It's about control. That was the first lie.
Well, then that would be authority, right? The authority of what you think.
Autonomy. Your own personal autonomy.
What do you mean by that reply? Lalo,
What was that?
what do you mean by that reply? That reply didn't quite make sense to me.
Apply what? Like the
Reply, excuse me, I'm sorry.
The thing is that he replied to something with one word, and it wasn't cohesive, in my opinion, like you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, it wasn't really the sense. The reply didn't really make sense.
the lie of
He's also driving. Go ahead.
the authority.
I guess he can't hear me. Reply your response.
The authority of what you think, what this shape is, what this earth is.
I'm trying to make sense out of the dialogue that you just had with Critspiracy. So after he said what you said, then you said what you said. What did you mean?
Well, he's talking about control. So So control means you give them authority.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
You get, and that goes to the whole what you think this reality is or this earth is. So they place
Yes, everyone.
So they plus a globe, and it kind of
Yes.
fit, and everybody kind of like play, and that's, I think the whole dialogue came out of you had to play along to get along, because the system has already been in place before I was born.
Yes, everyone has a theory of knowledge in epistemology. Everyone has at least one authority figure in their epistemology, the theory of knowledge. Either it's themselves or someone other than themselves. Either it's the God or it's some other person that is non-God. So the person needs to ask themselves who really is their ultimate authority for their knowledge, and can that supposed ultimate authority sustain really being the ultimate authority, the source for all knowledge whatsoever, including about the cosmos. Yeah.
So the lie can say that it was you.
Say again, what was that?
I'm gonna enter in non-data or non-voice. I'll be roboting in like.
I get, bro. Yeah, no,
Okay.
he's driving, so to follow. Yeah, go ahead. He's just driving around. You're roboting, bro. You're roboting. Try to mute yourself for now, okay? Because you're roboting.
Just as he predicted.
Yeah, and your guys' replies, that stuff has to be clipped. Someone, I won't be able to do it now, but what you guys replied in that, in my opinion, I mean, I'm just saying because I gotta take some notes. Gonna have to clip that. Go
Well,
ahead.
thank you.
Question: who is that agency who first could realize that we are in closed system?
Is your question within the time frame of the 20th century?
Yeah,
It's a good question.
it's a Russian space and American space agency in the first place, at least. Because if you put this scenario in the 50s, they sent it first rockets, and they
Mhm.
first realized that it's closed. Why would they say it to people that we are in closed system?
Say that last question again.
Why would they say it? Look at people. We send it to rockets. We are living in the closed system in 50s, you know.
Uh, Especially when they did so many decades of
Yeah.
propaganda of conditioning people that they live on a humongous ball flying around in a humongous cosmic vacuum. Yes.
And for sure they realized for the first before us that we are in closed system.
Because you also consider this as it concerns the motive and operations of the tyrants and the self-deceived deceivers who have perpetuated this lie. You have spent at least a century. That's a whole human lifetime and then some. The average human lifespan's 7-8 decades. So you spent at least a century manufacturing an entire institution that promulgates all this propaganda about the whole entire cosmos, and you successfully deceived well more than half the majority of the human population to make it at this rate, right? You have invested so much in this course of action trying to make a whole 180-degree turn, trying to repent from this, away from the lie towards the truth. The vast majority of persons who would be involved in this are not willing to suffer the consequences of repenting from that. I mean, you could just imagine the scorn and the infuriation, even the murderous, resentment that the public would have against the personnel of the institutions that are responsible for this. The consequences are just beyond our imagining. The consequences of confessing their sin and then repenting are so severe beyond imagining for them. So as the phrase goes, they're in too deep. They can only be saved from this position. They cannot save themselves.
That's my opinion, that they know from the first place about creation better than anyone. They know that from the beginning, and that is what they don't want to tell us. That part of the creation, they know something about creation, and they will never, ever, ever tell us.
Which is yet again corroborating Romans chapter 1, suppressing the knowledge of the truth and unrighteousness. Exchanging the truth of the God for a lie. If we are really serious about empirical verification, that's pretty strong empirical verification of that doctrine, and I'm not going to ignore it.
And then it's also that part, I don't care, doesn't matter to me. There is a part where, oh my God, there is something what is there hiding about creation. That means it's a part of all of us. That means it's matter, so much matter that we cannot believe how much is matter.
Do we sometimes lose our heads or lose our minds sometimes to know who's the head of the snake of this whole thing? Because sometimes we think about it like we get into these arguments about who is the head of the snake, who's the head of all this, and then like you said, and we go theorize like why they're doing it. We argue. Sometimes we even argue about the mechanism they use to control us, and the whole point.
Some people do that.
Yes.
Some people do that.
Well, here goes. Well, I say we're doing the same thing here. It's an endless.
No, I'm not doing that right now.
Well, I know. Well, not right now.
I wasn't doing that several minutes ago either.
Okay. But when some people try to argue with the globe, try to argue with them back that it's not, try to give them. Well, if I try to give you evidence that is the globe, and you say no, because the government lies. Because if I show you NASA photos or any government website, you just pawn it off that they're lying.
Well, not necessarily me. Some people do erroneously argue like that. I would not argue like that. That's not the only argument or the major argument that I would rely on in refutation of these supposed evidence data that is supposedly proving that we live on a ball flying around in the midst of a vacuum. I will go more directly to the empirical credentials of that supposed evidence. And then after that, because in order to justify the conclusion that there is a liar, you have to prove that a lie has been given. Right? In order to prove that the motive of the criminal was X, you have to prove that a crime was committed first. So that's how I would argue. And that's exactly what this is. This is a crime.
Making a claim without evidence or just with false evidence.
Not just making a claim without evidence. I mean, someone can do that indeliberately or without ill intent, but just be erroneous. This is a crime. This is fraud. And above that, this is egregious sin to lie to one of the God knows how many humans about the whole nature of the cosmos, to give them a whole worldview, an entire worldview that is not the truth.
It's funny that this world, like sometimes we do reward with these behaviors of lying and disgusting of violence and stuff. They do reward it, or like the system does give more towards it.
Inevitably so. I mean, no matter how individualistic someone may think themselves to be and try to be, they're still a member of a group. And someone is functioning as the leader, the authority above the group, someone in principle and in practice, inevitably so. So whoever that is, right, they are going to reward behavior that they delight in, and they're going to punish behavior that they are displeased by. There's no avoiding this.
So it's rather to take the punishment for the truth.
If in principle the truth does lead to blessedness, and therefore enduring an unjust punishment that is temporary is worthwhile enduring, indeed. And I argue that is the case.
I don't know. Go from there. I don't know. I'm my head is thinking about many things. Sometimes I do lose myself in thinking, and I don't speak up. Sometimes it's not worth me talking to. Well, maybe I like to talk here because these light-minded people knowing of the lie. But when you try to speak with these people about the whole system in place and why they lie, I feel like they're just like you're talking to a brick wall sometimes, or they just have these dialogues of nonsense and it feels like it's a waste of time.
whoever you're talking to either then wants to know the truth, especially the most important, most consequential, most significant truths, or they don't. And of course, if they don't, or if they do, they're going to behave accordingly. So people are going to make their choices, but people very often refuse, not just fail, but refuse to acknowledge that, yes, they have the ability and even the right, I argue, to make their choices. They do not have the right to choose the consequences of their choices. So if it is the case, and I argue it is the case, that believing and knowing and living according to truth consequently leads to blessedness in spite of any temporary sufferings in the moment, in the short-term future, and that living and believing falsehood leads to cursedness, detriment, no good whatsoever, and that it is not worthwhile enduring any pain or suffering living that life, I'm going to choose the former. And whoever chooses either of the two is going to suffer the consequences thereof, or enjoy the consequences thereof, given the former.
Tags! What is your profession?
See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.